What is up, everybody, and welcome to another live stream research session where today we will be taking a deep dive into the fight between Gabriel Silva and Kyla Phillips. Pretty excited to get into this one because Gabriel Silva looked really good in his UFC debut against Ray Borg. Obviously he lost against Ray Borg, but no shame in that. Obviously Borg is no picnic. So very much looking forward to getting into this one. If you're watching live on Twitch and Mixer, if you got any questions as the live stream goes, please don't hesitate to drop a question into the live chat. And if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, please hit the like button if you like these live research videos, and I will do more of them. There are tons of live research videos going to be coming to you guys this week because there are so many fights on this card. UFC on ESPN plus 27, which features fights from debutants, which means there's plenty of footage outside of the UFC that we can use for these live research sessions. And if you do like this session, immediately after we do this live stream, I'm going to be heading back over to my website to research the fight between Ankalaev and Ion Cutelaba, which is a fight I know many of you are interested in. So head on over to the live stream page, just roll the mouse over community and live streams, and then we will get it going on there. But we will be back later on with more live streams on Twitch and Mixer. I am planning to do tons of research today, probably going to put in a good 8 hours of research to get through as many of these fights as I can. I think I've got about 7 fights left to research, actually not including the fight that Luis Pena has been put into after his original opponent dropped out. Not sure who Pena's fighting now. Who's he been matched up against? A guy called Steve Garcia Jr. Yeah, so 8 fights still to go. So, big shout out to everyone watching live on Twitch and Mixer. And thank you as well if you're watching on YouTube. Let's get into the research session. So, Gabriel Silva is the brother of Bellator welterweight and former UFC welterweight Eric Silva. There he is with his brother Eric Silva. You probably recognize Eric. This is Gabriel right here. Gabriel looked pretty damn good in his UFC debut. Now, I know that Eric Silva trains at a regional gym in Brazil. So it will be interesting to see if Gabriel trains there as well. This is Anderson Silva's former strength and conditioning coach, although I guess he will, or Rogério Camões. This is the guy here. So maybe he's training at... No, it looks like they're back in Brazil. I was going to say maybe he's training at Team Blackhouse. Okay, here he is at Team Nogueira. Vorli Alves. One of the Nogueira brothers here. It's not the best picture, so I can't quite tell. So Team Nogueira, when was this picture taken? January. So if you're training at Team Nogueira, which would make sense because obviously Camões has got links to the Team Nogueira team, that would be good because Team Nogueira is a great gym. So, alright, inconclusive where he's training at the moment, but if he trains at Team Nogueira, that would be a great thing. Now, when Kyla Phillips was in The Ultimate Fighter, he was training at MMA Lab, and it looks like he still is. This is Yotsin Metsa. This is the guy that fought a couple of weeks ago and beat... Miles Johns, Bautista, right? This is Bautista right here. So these boys train at MMA Lab. So it looks like Kyla Phillips still train at MMA Lab. Yeah, Benson Henderson, Yatsin Metsa, Casey Kenny, and of course Kyla Phillips. So cool. And there is Bautista there as well. And I think this is John Moraga, which we haven't seen for quite some time in the UFC. And he has one hell of a hairdo as well. So both guys potentially training at pretty good gyms. Kyla Phillips at MMA Lab, Gabriel Silva at Eric Silva at Team Nogueira, possibly, although looks more like you travelling around a bit. Hey Beep Beep in my Jeep, how you doing, mate? Hey Qualium. Oh, hey Gucci, what's up, dude? Hey, what's up, Apple Man? How you doing, man? Hope you're okay, mate. Hope you are okay, dude. So, if we look into the footage for this fight, there's a decent amount of footage available on both guys, but not loads. What I've done so far this morning is I watched didn't mean to click that. I watched Gabriel Silva's UFC debut. You know what? That is a bug with Tapology. If you kind of move away from it and then go back, it loads someone else's record. Not sure why it does that. Hopefully if we refresh, will it bring... Yeah, we go. We got Silva's record back. So this morning I watched Borg against Silva, Silva's UFC debut. And he looked pretty good, to be fair. The one concern I've got over his debut is that he did slow down quite bad towards the end of the second round, which is a little bit of a concern because obviously Eric Silva has also got like cardio issues. But I'm not sure if that's because, well, there could be multiple reasons. I'm not sure if that's because it was, Silva's UFC debut. And obviously, maybe adrenaline dumped and, couldn't keep up with the pace Borg set. I don't think he took this fight at short notice. He didn't. So he did come into the fight on a full camp. Obviously, another one of the reasons why he might have gassed out was because Borg pushed an absolutely insane pace. Like, Borg, redlined it all the way through the fight and forced Silva to grapple hard. So that could be another reason why he gassed out. But that is a bit of a concern, just because we know his brother is prone to slowing down a lot as well. So need to watch out for that. A problem we do have is this fight obviously ended very quickly, and then before that, the fight we're going to watch together today against Camille Lebkowski was back in 2017. So we don't really know how much he's improved since then. We don't know what his cardio is going to look like since then, because he's only 25 years old. So we would have fought Lebkowski back when he was 23. So he's likely to have improved a boatload since then. And of course, we don't want to go further back than the Lebkowski fight and start watching him, in his fight before that, because these fights took place from pre-2015, right? And he's only going to be sort of 21, 22 years old then. So we don't have tons of footage on Silva to go off, but what we have seen, he looks pretty fucking good. Hey, Pitalgo, what's up, dude? Good to see you, mate. As for Kyla Phillips, the fight that I watched to prepare for this live stream was Katona against Phillips from TEF 27. What I would say about Phillips in this fight, it was a little bit of a strange matchup because he came out the gate like very, very aggressive, throwing like flashy strikes and stuff, and then very, very quickly became super passive. So what I noticed about Phillips was, and it might just be specific for this fight, this is why this fight might be a difficult one to cap, because we've only got limited amount of footage available on Kyla Phillips as well. As you can see, lots of first round finishes. But I noticed a very clear pattern in Phillips' fighting style in this matchup, where he would come out the gate very aggressive, then he would kind of take his foot off the gas and be like really passive, not really throw much, and then towards the end of the round he would suddenly get aggressive again and try and steal the round with a takedown or like a crazy flurry or something like that. Don't know if that tactic is just isolated to that one performance, because obviously when these fighters go on to the Ultimate Fighter, they've got a new set of coaches they're not familiar to working with, so maybe they're struggling to deal with all the new game plans and instructions they're getting. But that was very, very clear what Phillips was trying to do in that Katona fight, and from what I saw against Silva, against Borg, he was quite busy, man. Decent boxing, very, very, very good grappling. I mean, to be able to hang with Ray Borg speaks volumes, and yeah, Gabriel Silva looked pretty good. So if we look at the odds on this fight, Silva currently around about, call it an average of 1.80, which is going to be minus 125 for an implied probability of 56%. So you'd want to be capping Silva at around about 60% in order to get any value on him. If we look at Kyla Phillips, Phillips currently around, where are we? Call it 2.10, which is going to be plus 110 for an implied probability of 48%. So yeah, you'd want to be giving Phillips around about a 55-60% chance of winning to get a nice margin on the bookies. And the odds do seem to be pretty off on a lot of these fights that I'm researching for this week's card. Last week's card was very, very difficult for betting, but this week's card looks a hell of a lot better. So yeah, let's get into watching some footage now. So I don't know a lot about Kyla Phillips, so I would like to start there. Like I say, 10 minutes of footage against Brad Katona. It's not a lot to go off. So let's start with this guy. So the first fight that we can watch is Kyla Phillips against Amico Ifekandu from February last year, so almost exactly a year ago. It's not going to tell us much because obviously this fight ended very quickly, but maybe we can learn a tiny little bit about Phillips. And Phillips is the guy in the red gloves. Let's see what he brings to the table here. And I'm hoping that we see a good amount of Silva's striking in the fight that we're going to watch together, because there wasn't a great deal of it against Rayburg. Rayburg forced him to grapple hard the whole fight. So it would be nice to kind of gauge where his striking is at. So what's interesting is Phillips looks quite a bit slower here than he did against Brad Katona. Against Brad Katona, he looked a little faster, a little flashier early in the fight. I'm not too sure what's going on here. So what I did notice in the Katona fight was Katona was able to put him into a defensive shell quite easily. It wasn't even, after Katona hurt him particularly bad with anything, but what you did notice is Katona started to lead and take control of the centre of the octagon, and he had Phillips backing up, and Phillips just couldn't gain any respect in there at all. Now here it's actually Phillips that's leading. Phillips is the guy coming forward, being the aggressor. But maybe this fight gives us a clue as to why he struggled so much being backed up by Katona. Because if you look at Phillips here, everything that Phillips is throwing is kicks based. There's not a lot of boxing here. And it's very, very difficult to, create space for yourself and slow down forward pressure from your opponent with kicks. There's very, very few guys that can throw effective kicks while on the back foot. So Phillips' lack of boxing here might be one of the reasons why he struggled so bad against Katona. So I'm really, really hoping that we get to see some of Silva's striking in his fight that we're going to watch. And yeah, that's it, man. Didn't tell us a lot about Phillips, but what it did do was kind of add to kind of like the stuff we already learnt a little bit about Phillips from the Ultimate Fighter matchup against Brad Katona, where again there he did throw quite a low volume of strikes. The vast majority of strikes that he threw were kicks, and his boxing didn't look too dangerous. Like decent kicks, but nothing special. Obviously he finished the guy with a head kick, but nothing crazy dangerous there for Phillips. Obviously a bit inconclusive, so we'll go on and we'll watch more footage. But yeah, it's one of those fights where nothing too scary for Gabriel Silva here. So I've got a little bit of an idea now of what Phillips' striking is going to look like across the Katona and Ifekandu fights. This fight is available on UFC Fight Pass. I recommend going and checking it out if you've got a subscription, because Gabriel Silva might be a good bet here. Might be a good bet. In terms of size differences, Silva 5'4" with a 71-inch reach. Phillips 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. So that's a shame. So Phillips is actually going to have a pretty big size advantage here. 4 inches taller, same reach pretty much, but that is quite a big size advantage for Phillips, especially because Phillips likes to throw a lot of kicks, right? So if you think about it, they've both got the same reach, but it's likely Phillips' legs are a lot longer if he's 5'8". So he's going to be able to land these kicks that he likes to throw from positions where Silva's probably not going to be able to counter. But we will have a look at Silva's striking, man. Trains at Team Nogueira. Never see a bad fighter coming out of Team Nogueira. They're all tough as fucking nails. So let's get into this fight now. This is Gabriel Silva against Camille Lebkowski. Now, bear in mind that this fight did take place almost... It feels crazy even saying this was 3 years ago, because, like, I mean, 2017 doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but we're in 2020 now, so this was 3 years ago. So bear in mind, let's not be too harsh on Silva. He probably only would have been 21, 22 years old back when this fight took place. But what I would also say is, if the version of Silva that we see in this fight is capable of being competitive with Phillips, or the version of Phillips we just saw that we're going to see in this fight from CXF, I would pull the trigger on Gabriel Silva here at close to even money, just because the amount that Silva's likely to have improved since 2017 is probably going to be absolutely massive. Oh, nice one, Joe Banks, man. So Joe Banks in the live chat on Twitch is just saying that Tapology has got Silva's height wrong. He's actually 5'6". So nice one for letting us know, Joe. So that's not as big of a deal. That's not as big of a deal. And I was going to say that it does seem a little bit strange how he's 5'4" here, because he was a bit bigger than Ray Borg. So yeah, that wouldn't make much sense. How tall is Ray Borg? Yeah, Ray Borg is 5'4", and Silva was definitely a bit bigger than him. Alright, let's get into watching this fight then. Camille Lebakowski, that is a bit of a tongue twister. Camille Lebkowski against Gabriel Silva. So Silva is the guy in the blue shorts. Be interested to see what his striking looks like here. Didn't get to see much of it in the Borg fight. What we did see, though, looked like he had decent boxing. But Borg wasn't willing to play that game. Pushed a crazy pace, forced Silva to grapple. Keeping that right hand loaded up, man. And he times it very well there. Very, very nice from Silva. You can see, man, this guy's got decent boxing. You know, this fight was 3 years ago when he was early 20s. Beautiful combination. And you can just tell by the way this guy moves that he's decent. Good head movement as well. Does a good job of ducking under that power right hand. He sees everything coming, man. As Lebkowski is letting the power shots go, and you're seeing Silva do a good job of rolling with the strikes, slipping them. Lots of head movement and mixing things up with a nice level change and a takedown there. Not the best takedown entry, to be honest. Lebkowski gave that up very, very easily, which is, you know, it doesn't really tell us too much about Silva's wrestling, but his wrestling looked fantastic against Borg. So we'll just skip through this because we can't really see what is happening. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much to whoever recorded this video for us on their phone. So we see Silva looks like half guard here, although difficult to tell, a little bit inconclusive with the way the light is reflecting on the off the canvas. Does look like half guard though. Can't see anything really now. Alright, Lebkowski back up. So one thing that is a little bit of a concern, we were talking about Silva slowing down a bit in his UFC debut against Ray Borg. And here you see he has definitely slowed down a little bit here as well. Notice how as he gets back up from that grappling exchange, his hand speed is a lot slower, and notices immediately after they pop back up, he starts kind of backing up and trying to avoid engaging with Lebkowski. Now, if you look at how sharp his combinations and his hand speed looked at the beginning of the fight, look at how much slower he is now. This is a clear sign that Silva might not have the best gas tank here. I mean, look at the way he just whiffs on that right hook. Completely different level of sharpness to what we saw from him early in this fight. Throws out a lazy kick. So literally after one takedown and one grappling exchange, we're already starting to see Silva get tired, which is red flag city when you take into consideration the fact that, you know, this is the bantamweight division. Guys in the bantamweight division tend to have pretty good gas tanks. I don't think I've ever seen a fighter come out of the MMA lab with bad cardio. So, you know, Kyla Phillips is going to be game as fuck. He's going to probably have the cardio to fight at a decent pace for 3 rounds. We saw Silva slow down sometime towards the end of the second round against Borg, and after one, you know, little grappling exchange here, we're already seeing Silva slow down. Now, it is 3 years ago. So don't want to be too harsh on him, but it does add quite a big layer of risk to betting Silva here, and he doesn't like the forward pressure from Lebkowski, so he's looking to alleviate the pressure with a single leg takedown here. Again, he did a good job of sweeping the leg when he wasn't able to complete the takedown off the single leg. But again, Lebkowski didn't appear to have very good balance there. And wow, I was just going to say Lebkowski gave up that trip takedown very, very easily. And Lebkowski also reverses position and then just decides to pop back up to his feet. But look at this, look at the hand speed here, guys. Silva's only been fighting for 5 minutes, and look at how much he's slowed down. Hand speed nowhere near as fast. So definitely big red flags over Silva's cardio, and bit of a concern, you know, when you're fighting a guy like Kyla Phillips, who is going to be longer than you, likes to throw lots of flashy kicks. He's going to be able to pump those kicks out there from a range where Silva won't be able to counter him with like these short, slow counter punches. And also another sign, Silva getting very tired here. When you see a guy start to throw spinning attacks like that, it's usually just a sign of mental fatigue. Like they're kind of like they have a little bit of a brain dump, and they're not thinking straight. So they kind of just throw a spinning attack out there because they're not thinking properly because they're starting to get tired. So Joe Banks is just saying this fight was at featherweight. So thanks a lot, Joe Banks. That's really good info, mate. So that's significant because this fight was a featherweight, obviously. You know, Silva's going to be carrying a lot more weight than he would a bantamweight, which could affect his cardio. But what is also worth noting is he did definitely slow down against Ray Borg as well, which was at bantamweight. So, you know, we do have to take it seriously, man. You know, maybe his cardio looks better at bantamweight, or maybe it doesn't. But he's definitely tired here, and they've only been fighting for like 5 or 6 minutes. But a nice one for the info, Joe Banks. I guess it would make sense, right? Lebkowski looks so much bigger than him. And the one problem you have when a fighter like Gabriel Silva starts to get tired is that he just won't have the power to hurt his opponents with shots anymore. His shot, you know, his hand speed becomes so slow. I mean, look how he throws that lazy right hook out there. You know, he catches Lebakowski clean, you know, with the follow-up right hand, lands it very clean, lands it very hard. But for the most part, the majority of these punches are now landing, just don't carry enough power on them, enough pop on them, enough snap to really hurt Lebkowski. Actually missed that takedown there. Let's see what happened here. Oh, he just literally picks him up, right? Yeah, it just picks him up. This is a problem with assessing Gabriel Silva's wrestling as well, because Lebkowski has given up these takedowns so easily that it really doesn't tell us much about Gabriel Silva's offensive wrestling. Definitely doesn't have the heaviest top game though. You can see that he's giving Lebkowski a lot of space here to improve his position from the bottom. It's easier. It's harder for Lebkowski. There you see, we just talked about the space he gave him. Now he's been able to slip out the back door, and if he can just clear his right leg, Lebkowski's going to be able to pop back up to his feet. But he's decided to try and roll for a leg instead, because he didn't Didn't try and use that scramble to pop back up. Silva's actually been able to get back in the top position. So Lebkowski didn't show enough urgency there to pop back up. It's probably because he's tired, man. Probably because he's tired. And now Silva passes over into side control. Very, very nice. So Silva definitely getting tired, but Lebkowski also tired now, which is allowing Silva to get back in this fight. But here again, you can see Silva doesn't have a very heavy top game. Lebkowski easily able to get to his knees here, and he's going to be able to pop back up anytime he wants, if he can muster the energy. Silva doesn't have anything in this position. It's just a question of whether Lebkowski has got the energy to stand back up. But Silva doesn't have anything here, and Lebkowski probably just catching his breath, waiting for the moment to explode back up. But I doubt there's long left in the round, so he's running out of time here. I am Orgil, yeah mate. So in Silva's UFC debut against Ray Borg, he slowed down towards the second half of round 2. Now, I wasn't sure if that was because it was his UFC debut or because he, Ray Borg forced him to fight at a crazy pace with loads of grappling. But in this fight, after one grappling exchange early in the first round, it was quite clear that that Silva slowed down quite a bit after sort of like 4 or 5 minutes. Now, this fight did take place 3 years ago when Silva only would have been, like 21, 22 years old, so I don't want to be too harsh on him. But obviously, we've only really got 2 fights to assess him on, the Borg fight and this fight, and he's slowed down in both, which is a bit of a concern. So it'll be interesting to see what Kyla Phillips' cardio looks like in this fight we're going to watch from CXF15. Nice one, I am Orgil. I hope I'm saying it correctly, dude. Hope we're saying this correctly, man. But yeah, it's a tricky fight at the moment. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Phillips. So far, I would say Silva's definitely got the advantage when it comes to boxing. But if he gets tired after 5-6 minutes, it might not matter. Because, like I say, these MMA lab guys, they're never great at anything, but they're always reasonably good at everything. They can hang everywhere. And we know, it's like a staple of MMA lab fighters. There's no quitting them. Kyla Phillips likely to be very tough. He's likely to be in your face for 15 minutes. And, if he can push a decent pace, get Silva tired, it could be a very good night for him. Because one thing you've always got to consider as well, I'm just some geek, sat on my ass watching these fights, right? John Crouch, the head coach at MMA Lab, he is going to be watching these fights as well. He's going to be spotting the same patterns as we do when we're watching, this footage on Gabriel Silva. So if we can spot these patterns, if these patterns are quite clear to us, MMA, John Crouch definitely going to spot the same patterns. So he's going to be able to formulate a really robust game plan for Kyla Phillips to come in here and cause a guy like Gabriel Silva problems. And let's be real, the MMA Lab way of fighting is put loads of pressure on your opponent, break them with pressure, get in their face, make it an ugly fight, right, and close that skill gap, right, because Gabriel Silva might be a better grappler, he might be a better boxer than Phillips, but if you close, if you get in his face, force him to work, it could close that skill gap. And I'm sure John Crouch is seeing all the same stuff as us when he's gone and watched this footage on Silva. And again, it looks like Silva doesn't have the heaviest top game, because when he gets that takedown, he does give Lebkowski an enormous amount of space to work his way back up to his feet. And that time, rather than at the end of the second round where Lebkowski didn't have the energy to pop back up, here he does, because it's earlier in the third round where he's had a minute to recover in between rounds. But Silva not willing to give up on this single leg yet. Looks like he's still holding on to it. But again, it goes back to what Joe Banks said as well. We can't be too harsh on Silva's wrestling and top game, because this fight is at featherweight. It's a weight class above his natural weight class, 135. He is quite a small guy at 5'6", so it's going to be more difficult for him to hold these bigger guys down. Lebkowski's obviously got a big size advantage over him. It's going to be difficult for him to hold Lebkowski down. He is a natural bantamweight. Having said that, Phillips does look to be quite a bit bigger anyway, so the same might apply in this fight this weekend against Kyla Phillips. I am Orgil. Asking about the Luis Pena fight. Yeah, mate, if there's a decent amount of footage available on Steve Garcia, we will get into it. It's maybe going to be a difficult one. I'm not sure how much footage is available on this guy, but he's got a lot of early finishes, which might make it difficult. Oh shit, he fought Joe Warren. Fuck me. Well, we should be able to get hold of this one. Is that a 5-round title fight? Most of Warren's fights... Well, Warren's fights around about 2017 would have been for the belt, right? No. Alright, he must have lost that belt. That belt to Andre Galvo back then. But yeah, we will definitely get into this fight, man. I'm going to be doing loads of live streams on Twitch and Mixer this week. Like, the way it works, for any of you guys wondering, I live stream my research for every single fight. If the majority of footage is copyright protected on UFC Fight Pass, I live stream it on my website. If you want to check it out, roll the mouse over where it says community, go to live streams. We've got a 2-hour live stream on the fight between Marcin Tybura and Sergey Spivak yesterday. So, you know, a lot of the live streams will be done on my website. Whenever we've got a situation where there's a lot of footage available on one of the fighters outside of the UFC, I do the live streams on Twitch and Mixer for everyone to watch. So that is kind of how we do things. But I live stream my research for every single fight. I live stream between 2 and 7 hours every single day of the week, from Monday to like Saturday. And yeah, if you like the live streams, if you like this kind of stuff, you could check me out on my website every day, or on cards like this. I'll be doing tons of research on Twitch and Mixer, just because there's so many debutants. There's so many opportunities for us to do videos like this, because the amount of footage out there on YouTube and Youku and Facebook and stuff like that. So that is the end of that fight. So if we summarise what we know about Gabriel Silva now, before we go into the fight between Kyla Phillips and Victor Henry from back in October 2018. Let's look at what we know about Silva. So he's quite small, so his top game doesn't look the heaviest. Again, inconclusive, because this fight was 3 years ago. But what I always say to people is, we can only work with the information that we've got, right? We've got to try and make the best decision possible with the information available to us. So all we can do is form an opinion based on what we've seen, which is what we've seen in the Rayburg and Lebkowski fights. So decent boxer, you know, pretty good boxer, but perhaps has a tendency to slow down. I would say on average probably around about the midway point of the second round. If we look at a combination of the stage in the fight, he slowed down against Borg and Lebkowski. Is also worth noting that you shouldn't bank on him having bad cardio, because this fight was a very long time ago, and this fight was his UFC debut, and Rayburg also pushed a crazy pace. So can't absolutely say he has bad cardio, but we have seen him slow down in 2 fights. Reasonably good everywhere. Like I say, decent grappler. He hung on the ground with Rayburg, put Borg in some bad positions, and he trains with Team Nogueira, which is really good, right? Everyone that comes out of Team Nogueira is tough as nails. We said when it comes to MMA Lab, guys at MMA Lab tend to be reasonably good everywhere. You know, pressure fighters, love to get in your face and rough you up. Well, if you're coming out of Team Nogueira, you are tough as fuck. There's absolutely no quitting you ever. So that's pretty much what we know about Silva. Kyla Phillips. This fight should probably tell us the most about Kyla Phillips, because this fight was quite a long time ago now against Brad Katona. It would have taken place in 2017, because obviously these fights are shown on a tape delay, like a few months after the actual fight took place. So this probably took place in like August or September of 2017. No, it couldn't have, because he fought on the Contender Series then. So it probably took place like maybe November, December time, which was a long time ago. This fight ended very quickly. So this fight against Victor Henry probably going to give us the best idea of what to expect from Kyla Phillips this weekend. So if we look at this guy, obviously don't know a lot about him, but he has got a decent record of 20-4. See if we recognise any of the guys that he's fought. Anderson Dos Santos, if this is the guy I'm thinking of. Yeah, so he's beaten Anderson Dos Santos. This guy is the dude that fought Andre Ewell. Very, very tough. So he's decent. He's beaten Andre Ewell. Sorry, he's beaten Anderson Dos Santos. Wow, he's beaten Hideo Tokoro as well. So, yeah, no shame in losing to Victor Henry, guys. I was actually thinking when I was kind of like taking a look at their win-loss record, I was kind of like, well, you know, Gabriel Silva's looked pretty good. He hung in there with Ray Borg. But then when you look at the fact that he lost a split decision recently outside of the UFC, I was like, well, that's not a good sign. He's not that, you know, that's not a good sign losing to a guy like Victor Henry. But when you look at Victor Henry's record, wins over Anderson dos Santos and Hideo Tokoro suggests that this guy's pretty fucking good. So maybe Phillips is pretty good, but we will take a look. And yeah, boys, let's have a quick drink, and then let's get into this fight between Phillips and what was this guy's name? Phillips and Henry. Pretty cool. And yeah, after this fight, boys, I'll be jumping back over to my website to live stream the research for Kutalaba versus Ankalaev, because that is obviously all locked down behind UFC Fight Pass. And then later on, I'll come back, and I think I'm going to do the fight between... I'm going to come back to Twitch and Mixer to do the fight between Spike Carlisle and Alon Cruz. I think this is the fight we're going to look at. Probably in like 2-3 hours time I'll be back to jump into this one. Right, let's have a quick drink. My mouth is getting very dry. Alright. Let's go. Hey, what's up, One Cash? Good to see you, mate. Oh no, what's happened here? Disaster. We're going to have to find the point in the video again. Nightmare. I think this is the fight. Josh Barnett in... my Alzheimer's is kicking in bad today, boys. Josh Barnett in Henry's corner. Because this video is so big, it's like 4 hours long. I think it's going to be difficult for me to get to the exact part. Oh no, here we go. So let's see what Kyla Phillips is bringing to the table here against Gabriel Silva. Let's go. Kyla Phillips in the blue gloves. Beautiful outside leg kick to start the round, and a nice slick back take from Phillips as well. Very, very slick. Kicks off the cage as well to try and create space for himself to get the body triangle in play. Sexy back take there from Kyla Phillips, boys. We like that. And now if he goes to the body triangle here, I'm going to be in love with this guy. If he goes to the body lock, he's going to have to go to the body lock on his right side, because the cage is going to make it difficult for him to get it on the left side. He's aggressively attacking the choke at the moment, which is probably the reason why he hasn't gone to the body triangle. He's struggling to multitask here. But if he goes to the body triangle on the right side to establish this dominant position, he could go to the left side now as well, because obviously the cage is no longer blocking it, although the mat is, which makes it a little bit more difficult. He's thinking about the body triangle on the right side, which is the way which is the reason why he's kind of like bringing his left leg more parallel to the neckline of Dixon here, or Henry, or whatever the fuck they like to call him. But beautiful back take. You can tell that that Kyla Phillips is slick on the ground. There's absolutely no question about it. That back take was sexy. Very, very nice back take. Now, the hooks are loosey-goosey. Henry has almost been able to explode in the top position on a couple of occasions. But very, very nice from Phillips there as well. So Phillips lost the position, but rather than allowing... wow, Kyla motherfucking Phillips looking very good here. Rather than allowing Dixon to Henry, wherever the fuck this guy's name is, I'm really sorry, Victor Henry, that I keep getting your name wrong. I keep calling you Dixon for some reason. It's early in the morning, boys. It's 10:30 a.m. I haven't had anything to eat yet. I'm tired, and I'm struggling, boys. I'm struggling. I'm real sorry. But yeah, very sorry I keep getting this guy's name wrong. The dementia is strong today. What I would say though, boys, is Kyla Phillips looks legit on the ground. From what I'm seeing so far, much stronger grappler than Gabriel Silva. And what I also like is when he loses these positions, he's able to prevent his opponent from taking top position. You know, there's been windows of opportunity where his opponent's been able to jump on top of Phillips, and Phillips hasn't allowed him to do it because he's immediately popped back up to his feet. Very, very nice. So on one hand, it is it's a concern that Phillips, you know, does give up position, but on the other hand, he doesn't allow his opponent to take that position, which I love. Now, what I am interested to see here is Phillips is obviously the underdog. He's 2.10, odds are plus 110. If he can keep up this pace for 3 rounds, I think he's going to be a great bet, because I don't believe that Silva will be able to keep up this pace for 3 rounds. And Phillips looking very, very slick on the ground. What is interesting is Phillips exerted a ton of energy in round 1. Oh, beautiful outside trip there. We love it, man. Phillips is looking good here, boys. Phillips is looking good, you know. Phillips is looking good. Very, very deep double leg takedown, and he might not have even needed to complete the takedown with the trip, because he got in very deep on Henry's legs, but he went for the trip anyway. I am not mad at that. You know, stacking the odds in your favour of getting the takedown. And I am fucking loving Phillips' grappling here. Very, very impressive. I think I might have to go back and watch this Ray Borg fight, because it looks like Phillips is going to give Silva some problems, man. Very, very strong wrestler. And interested to see how he ends up losing this. Now, what I would say is that Phillips exerted tons of energy in this first round, pursuing a finish with a rear naked choke. Really committed hard to it. So it'll be interesting to see how his cardio does hold up here. He is slowing down a little bit. You see that he practically threw that spinning kick in slow motion. But what I would also say is, you know, if he does come out hard like this against Silva, Silva's also likely to slow down, and maybe Phillips is going to just be able to like out-tough him. You know, he's got the size advantage. In terms of wrestling, definitely looks like a stronger wrestler. His technique is just way tighter than Silva's, from what I've seen in the Borg fight, from what I've seen in the last fight that we watched. We don't know how Kyla's cardio is yet, or Gil. Hopefully we're going to find out here though, mate. Beautiful pass over in the mountain. A heavy elbow as well. Jesus Christ. He threw that elbow down like a fucking piano falling from the sky in a Looney Tunes cartoon. That came down heavy as fuck. And don't know who these ladies are, but they are very, very happy with what they've seen. Phillips could be a lucky man after this fight tonight. But very, very good round for Phillips. Very good first round. We like it a lot. All kinds of stuff to like about Phillips there. And he's definitely got sloppy striking as he starts to get tired. But it might not matter if he is able to, you know, grapple like this for 3 rounds, because his wrestling looks very, 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 very strong. A lot stronger than Silva's from what I've seen. And I have a feeling that I am going to have to go and watch Ray Borg's fight against Silva again before I can kind of make my mind up on this one, because I really want to watch that Ray Borg fight while this fight is fresh in my mind, so that when I go and watch Borg against Silva, and kind of visualize how Phillips might do in there with Silva, because I am pretty impressed with that first round from him. And he is tired, he is taking deep breaths. We can see that from him here at the beginning of round 1, but at the same time he exerted tons of energy in that first round, so you'd expect him to be a little bit tired. And I would also expect Silva to be quite tired if Phillips was able to put this kind of pace on him. But sloppy boxing here, I think it's fair to say Silva will have a nice advantage when it comes to boxing. But again, a beautiful leg sweep from the outside leg kick there. The same technique that he was able to sweep the leg of Henry with in the first round. So pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. And it's quite clear what Phillips wants here. He wants to get this fight into the clinch so he can start to work for that takedown again. But yeah, Phillips super slow hand speed, throwing these kicks in slow motion now with how tired he is after all that grappling in round 1. But like I say, it might not matter too much because Silva's cardio also a little bit sketchy, and Silva likely to slow down at a similar pace to Phillips, especially if Phillips is able to take Silva down, controlling from top position. So Phillips looking for a takedown here. Doesn't have anything at the moment though, and there we see because of that Henry's able to slip out. Nice left hook lands for Phillips. Obviously nowhere near as technical as Silva. What I would say about Silva's boxing is even when he gets tired and his hand speed declines significantly, he is still able to throw decent combinations, technical combinations, whereas as we've seen Phillips get tired after that first round, these kicks that he's throwing, these punches that he's throwing, very, very slow, very, very sloppy. So I think that could be the difference. If both these guys do get tired, Silva is probably still going to be able to strike effectively, whereas Phillips isn't. And that could be a big deal, right? Especially if Silva's able to keep the fight standing, if Tyler is too tired to get these takedowns. Wait a minute, what the fuck happened here? I feel like we've just teleported between the second and third round. The fight clock is going crazy, boys. I'm sure we're in the second round. I didn't see the end of the second round come. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. Maybe maybe they've cut the video in a funky way, but the fight clock it appears to be completely incorrect at the moment. I'm not too sure what's going on here. Very, very strange. Boys, I'm actually flagging pretty hard. My brain is not firing properly at the moment. So I think instead of going straight into researching that Ankalaev versus Kutalaba fight on my website, I think after this live stream, I'm going to grab some food. Remember, you've got to fuel the fire, boys. I'm going to grab some food. Oh, Jesus, there we go, boys. There we go. Nice one for letting me know. Yeah, Daniel, exactly, dude. Daniel, exactly, mate. Daniel is saying, go grab some food, mate. You're even knocking the fucking mic off now. I am feeling a little bit flaggy, boys. I'm not going to lie. Last week was brutal. I think I'm still jet lagged after last week with all those Bellator events. Last week was a busy, brutal week for me, man, but it all evens out, man. This week is much easier to research. Loads of debutants, loads of fighters, with fights that have ended in round one, so it's kind of like easy to research their matchups. Last week there were just loads of decisionators. It took a while to get through that card, and with all the Bellator as well, but this card much, much, much faster. Should be done by Thursday night, I reckon. Gotta take my car for an MOT and a service tomorrow. So, probably won't be able to live stream as much as I want to tomorrow, but I'm guessing we should be done by Friday morning on this one at the latest. Now, Phillips gives up a really, really easy takedown there. Henry able to sweep the leg quite easily. Now, Phillips is very, very tired at this stage in the fight. That's quite obvious. Will be nice to see what Phillips can get going off his back here if he's able to work his way back to his feet when he's this tired. He is in a good position to work his way back to his feet because he's got the cage right there, which he can use as a tool to wall walk. But he seems more interested in fishing for long shot omoplatas rather than using that submission attempt to work his way back to his feet. So this is a bit of a red flag from Phillips as well. He is not using this space that he's created for himself to pop back up, because at this stage of the fight he just doesn't have the energy. Eventually he does get back up, but it took him an eternity. He didn't need to wait that long, and looking super tired, looking super sloppy at the end of this fight. So we've got to give a balanced view on both these guys, right? Earlier on we were saying that Gabriel Silva had bad cardio, but then there's reasons for it because, Berg was his debut. The Lebkowski fight was like 3 years ago. He's probably improved a lot since then. Berg pushed a crazy pace. And now, Tyler Phillips has slowed down a bunch here as well. But again, you don't want to be too harsh on him for gassing out in this fight, because what you'll find in a lot of these regional promotions, you know, a lot of these regional promotions, guys are often taking the fight on, like, you know, 2-3 weeks notice. They're probably not eating the best diet because they're broke, you know what I mean? They're not earning any money in these promotions. They can't afford, you know, good vegetables, good quality meats. On top of that, you know, Tyler Phillips is probably working a full-time job as well. Who knows, man? He might have been working the day before this fight, or even the day of this fight. Who knows? I was talking to one of my elite members yesterday, Rostar, because we were kind of having a debate in the chat room yesterday about the scoring on the Hooker versus Felder fight. I was very, very mad. I felt Felder got absolutely robbed in that fight. We were kind of having a debate about it. And one of my elite members is Rostar. He is one of the Muay Thai. He is one of the promoters in Australia for Muay Thai. He was telling me that when just interested here. Phillips has caught a bit of a second wind here. Just want to see where he can get going from this position. Doesn't look to be as tired at the beginning of this third. A bit lighter on his feet here. But anyway, Rostar is one of my elite members. He's a Muay Thai promoter in Australia, and I was telling him that I took so much shit about how terrible the judges are in MMA. Like, every single weekend they cost me money on a bad decision. Like, I dread to think how much money they've cost me over the last 2 years on bad decisions. It's probably way more than 50 grand. It's difficult to quantify with the money you lose out on compounded growth, but it's probably well over 50 grand the money that judges have cost me. So I'm always ranting about how bad the judges are in MMA. But then I have to kind of check myself, and I do think there's a lot of truth to that expression that you shouldn't judge a man until you walk a mile in his shoes. So this year I've really set it as a goal of mine to try and judge some MMA events, just to kind of put myself in the judge's position and see what the challenges are, because there's me, you know, every weekend talking so much shit about how these judges are costing me money, and I don't really know what it's like, right? Maybe it's a really difficult job. Maybe it's not as easy as it looks. So I was talking to Rostar, and I was saying, you know what? It's difficult for me to actually judge an MMA event because I live bet every single weekend. And it surprised me how the majority of MMA events, at least in the UK, the vast majority of MMA events in the UK are on a Saturday, which would clash with the UFC. I was hoping that there would be a good number of regional shows in the UK that took place on a Friday night, so then I could go judge a fight, you know, be one of the judges on a small promotion on a Friday night, and then still be able to do my live betting on a Saturday night for UFC. And Rostar was telling me the reason why the vast majority of MMA fights and Muay Thai events are on a Saturday night is because basically everyone that fights in these promotions has a full-time job, right? They can't afford to support themselves fighting on these small promotions. So very, very likely that, like, Tyler Phillips might have been working yesterday. He said the reason why they do these events on a Saturday is because they don't want to do it on a Friday, because if they did it on a Friday, they'd have to weigh in on a Thursday, and that would mean they'd have to take an extra day off work. Whereas if they do the event on a Saturday, they've only got to take the Friday off work to weigh in. So it's like less days off their day job, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But for that reason, it does just go to show that many of the guys on these shows, like Kyla Phillips, will be working full-time jobs. So when you do see them in fights like this where they gas out after one round, it's dangerous to be too harsh on them, because, you know, maybe their work-life balance makes it difficult for him to train hard, eat good, and prepare for a fight. But then when he's now been signed to the UFC, maybe he's taking his training for this fight against Silva a little bit more seriously, and maybe he'll look a lot better on Saturday night. But fair to say, you know, in this third round, gassed very bad, looking pretty rough here, and you know, likely going to struggle very, very bad against Gabriel Silva if he shows up and gasses this bad by the third round. Of course, the problem is there's not a great deal more footage on Kyla Silva that we can watch to form an opinion on this fight. You know, after that that first round where, you know, Phillips went hard on that back take and that submission attempt. He's really been very, very tired and quite ineffective for the most part. So this is a fight where I went from thinking, you know, Silva might struggle, to then leaning towards Kyla Phillips after the first round of this fight, and now thinking this might actually be a very good fight for Silva based on what we're seeing here. So it's difficult for me to form an opinion on this fight at the moment because of the limited footage available on both guys. I think what I'm going to do after this, I'm going to go make myself some food. And while I'm making myself food, I'm going to watch Rayborg against Gabriel Silva on UFC Fight Pass and try and gauge, you know, how this fight is likely to go. At what point in the Borg fight did Silva slow down? And you know, if Phillips does take his back, does get into top position, how much trouble is Silva likely to be in? So that is pretty much what Kyla Phillips and Silva bring to the table, boys. We don't have a lot more footage that I can show you. Like I say, we've watched this fight. This fight is available on UFC Fight Pass if you have a subscription. This fight ended very, very quickly. If you if you start going further back than this into 2015, 2014, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble because Silva would have improved so much since then. If we look at Kyla Phillips, similar thing really. This fight ended very quickly. We can watch this fight. It's on UFC Fight Pass. He obviously slowed down a lot in this fight. And then if you start going any further back into 2017, it's dangerous territory because obviously he's likely to have improved so much since then. Guess one thing we might be able to do. If I look in my fight archive, do we have LFA 13? Because what we could say is if he didn't slow down in this fight against Jonathan Quiros, even though he was back in 2017, what it would mean is that maybe he just gassed out as a one-off in this fight because he adrenaline dumped in round one. So I'll see if I do have this LFA 13 fight for you, and maybe we can blast through this one very, very quickly just to kind of confirm really whether Phillips' cardio is suspect or not. I think we might have it, boys. I think we might have it. We might be able to jump on this one. I am Orgil saying this kind of has pass written all over it. Both prone to gas. Kyla super dangerous on the ground in the first, but afterwards very sloppy. Yeah, I guess what I would like to do is gain absolute confirmation that Phillips does have bad cardio, because like I say, maybe adrenaline dumped in round one. Maybe he took the fight on short notice. You know, maybe he maybe it was just a bad night at the office. But if we watch this fight from LFA 13, which went the distance, even though it was a long time ago, this should give us an idea this should give us a better idea of what his cardio might look like. Because if he gasses out in this fight, it's fair to say that the dude just has bad cardio, right? Whereas if he doesn't gas out in this fight, it gives us a little bit more information where we can say maybe this was a bad night at the office, and maybe we can let him off the hook. What I will say is you don't see many MMA lab guys with bad cardio. Usually MMA lab guys, pretty tough, pretty good cardio, and pretty damn trustworthy. So I'm not willing to just write Phillips' cardio off yet. I think we need to watch one more fight to be absolutely sure. But I'm getting hungry now, boys. I am getting hungry. I know many of you watch me and listen to me talk bollocks about cage fighting when you're in work. So it's got to be almost lunchtime, boys. I bet there's a lot of you out there that are feeling or looking real hungry right now. I'm really hungry. My brain is struggling bad. But this is Kyla Phillips against Johnny Quiros. And let's see which one of these dudes is Kyla Phillips. I believe he's in the white shirts, but I'm not 100%. He's changed his haircut a little bit. Can't quite see from... Yeah, he's got the MMA Lab sticker on his shorts. So there we see Phillips with another one of those funky kicks. And the good thing about the way this fight is going is obviously Kyla Phillips is coming out quite hard, quite aggressive here, like he did in his last fight against Henry. So it doesn't look like he's pacing himself. So this should give us a pretty good idea as to what his cardio is going to look like here. Definitely coming out hard for this one. And he loves to throw those flashy kicks, right? He head kick KO'd that dude in his last fight in LFA. I think it was LFA 59, but I mean, doesn't have the best technique on those kicks. They're kind of a bit sloppy the way he throws them, and really they just seem as something he does because he's not too confident in his boxing. We have seen even in the Brad Katona fight, into this fight, and also the fight that we just watched. Definitely fair to say that Phillips isn't much of a boxer. He's kind of got the weird flashy kicks which don't look that effective, but you can tell just from the way that he took Henry's back in the first round of that last fight that this guy is probably a BJJ guy as opposed to a striker. Have another little drink. I am getting hungry, boys. Jesus Christ. This is why I never do streams first thing in the morning. You guys will probably know I never stream this early. This is why. Because when I get hungry, boys, I am just shit. I am shit at everything. I can't talk. I can't think. I literally can't do anything. I'm just a complete waste of oxygen. So I definitely need to grab some food and then come back and stream later on when my brain is working properly. Quiros with the Ali footwork, right? Muhammad Ali footwork. Very much looking forward to going back and watching the Gabriel Silva against Ray Borg fight now. Feeling like Silva might be a good bet here, boys. Because already we've kind of seen Tyler Phillips' output dropped. And that is one thing that I did notice about Phillips on The Ultimate Fighter. He came out aggressive early and then his output dropped. Now he didn't gas out against Katona, but then he also didn't do much against Katona. So now it appears that the passive performance he put in against Katona looked like it was to conserve energy. It looked like it was to conserve energy. That's why he didn't really let his hands go. And at the moment, I'm not seeing anything too scary from Tyler Phillips. Yeah, One Cash. I'm feeling like this might be the case, man. One Cash is on Mixer and he's saying Silva is an awesome bet. I watched the Borg Silva fight yesterday. I'm feeling like the version of Silva we saw against Borg would cause the version of Phillips we've seen here and against Henry big problems. Like big problems. Big problems. And you'd have to expect, Phillips to struggle a bit in his UFC debut. You'd have to expect Silva to look a lot better in his second fight in the UFC. Now he's had a decent paycheck or not a decent paycheck. It's only 10 grand, but I think the cost of living in Brazil is a lot lower than in Europe, in the United States, so 10 grand might go a lot further in Brazil. Also, strange that Quiros tried to kind of sweep the legs with his head there. He kind of tried to headbutt the legs of Tyler Phillips. Very, very strange. One Cash saying, I don't even think that Kyla's wrestling is better than Silva's. And that's another thing, right? One Cash bringing up a really good point, which is kind of where I'm at. Phillips' grappling looked very good in the fight against Henry in that first round. But if Borg couldn't cause Silva a problem, realistically, how much is Phillips likely to cause Borg a problem? How much is Phillips likely to cause Silva a problem? We see Phillips getting stung there off the right hand, and it's quite clear Silva will have a very big advantage when it comes to boxing. We're seeing Phillips, pretty low level boxer to be fair. eating some clean, hard shots in these slow-mo replays. You know, all his striking is really kicks-based. And I'm guessing that the Silva will look a lot better in his second fight in the UFC. So at the moment, boys, I am starting to think that Silva could be a very good bet here. Too early to tell. Want to go back and watch that Borg versus Silva fight, but I mean, aside from that one round against Henry, the first round, Phillips has looked pretty poor, pretty bad to be fair, pretty bad here. I know it was a long time ago, but I actually think, you know, this fight took place. You know, if we look at this fight took place in June 2017. This fight that we watched took place in March 2017. I actually think this version of Gabriel Silva would have caused this version of Phillips quite a big problem, actually, based on what we're seeing here. And Phillips doesn't necessarily look like he's improved that much since then. You know, with his fight, against Henry and CXF, whereas Silva, to hang in there with Borg, appears like he might have improved quite a bit. I guess the biggest concern for me was Silva's cardio, but having seen Phillips slow down, and Phillips quite clearly pace himself against Brad Katona and also pace himself here, Silva's cardio issues don't become as big of a concern. And again, difficult to gauge his offensive wrestling there because Quiros gave up the takedown so easily. Very nice back take though. He's got one deep hook in on the right side. He's going to try and slip that left hook in as well. And Quiros just looking a little bit tired here, sits down. And again, we see similar technique from Phillips here to what we saw from him in his last fight, where instead of establishing full back control, he actually attacks the neck first, which is a bit of a mistake. You know, I understand that, you know, and there he goes, he gets that second hook in play. But I actually prefer it when fighters establish the dominant position and then start to attack the neck. I know that by doing it in that order, it makes it much less likely that you will get the choke, because obviously your opponent has had more time to get themselves in a headspace to defend the choke. But what it does mean is that if you don't get the choke, at least you've established the dominant position. So I hate it when fighters attack the neck before establishing that dominant position. Now it hasn't cost Phillips here, but it might against a higher level of opponent like Silva, who might be able to explode into top position before you have an opportunity to get those hooks in play. That's just something to think about. Now these hooks are deep, because semi-deep, not crazy deep, a little bit deep because Phillips has got long legs, but there is space there for Quiros to try and explode into top position, and that's why he's able to shake him off here. There was the hooks weren't super tight. That was a nice cage grab there from Quiros. The ref thought about stepping in, but Phillips was able to take the back again, so decided not to. What I will also say about Phillips is he does make very, very nice adjustments on back control. So there have been moments in this fight and also the Henry fight in round one where it's very, very much looked like he was going to lose the position just by being overly aggressive and not actually fully establishing the dominant position. But when his opponent has tried to punish him for that, he has actually made very, very nice adjustments to maintain control. That's one thing that I've noticed about him. He's very, very good at maintaining control, even in positions where he looks like he's going to lose the position. And this position's been really good for just wearing on Quiros here, which is making it more difficult for him to use the space that Phillips is giving him to work his way back to his feet. He's just going to be very, very tired at this stage in the fight after carrying all of Phillips's body weight for this round. And you see there's a lot of space in there for Quiros to just turn to his right and then, get his back tight to the cage and start popping back up to his feet. But he can't do that because of how tired he is at this stage in the matchup. And because he's so tired and hesitates, you see Phillips has been able to create space between Quiros and the cage, and now Fish to start taking the back. But as you notice how slow everything is in this round, this is a very slow-paced round, and that's just because Quiros doesn't have the energy to punish Phillips for the tiny little mistakes that he's making. But then again, maybe Silva will be too tired to punish him as well. So interesting a bet on Silva here. Very, very interesting going back and watching that Ray Borg versus Silva fight. I don't think I'm going to be able, well, I know I'm not going to be able to tell you whether you should bet this fight or not based on what we've seen, just because I'm feeling a bit hungry. My brain's not functioning properly. So I want to go back, watch that Ray Borg Gabriel Silva fight. Might even watch Katona versus Tyler Phillips fight again. Just watch those matchups before jumping into anything. But what I will tell you is Silva looks like he could be a good bet here. So go do your own research and let me know in the comments what you think, man. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, let me know. Let me know if you think Silva's a good bet. But I think he might be. One Cash is certainly saying that he is on the live stream chat on Mixer. I think he might be. One Cash is certainly. So this is going into the third round now. And yeah, boys, what I am going to do after this, I'm going to grab some food. And then I will come back, I'll jump on the website and I'll research Ankalaev against Kutalaba. We want to get to that fight quite quickly because the odds on Ankalaev have declined quite a bit in the last 24 hours. So I want to see what is up there with that fight. Phillips looking for the leg sweep here. Don't actually know what's happened in this fight, but it actually looks like Phillips has caught a bit of a second wind. Although he did look like he caught a bit of a second wind at the beginning of the third round against Henry, and then slowed down after about 30 seconds to a minute. That could be what's happening here. Maybe Phillips is able to recover in between rounds, but then slows down again very, very quickly. But both guys looking pretty slow, pretty sloppy in this third round. What I will say, though, is Phillips' entries, takedown entries, even in this third round, do seem quite powerful. There's quite a lot of explosion in there, which is something to think about with Gabriel Silva. I want to go and watch what his takedown defense looked like against Borg. Bear in mind as well, this fight is 3 years ago, so Phillips likely to have improved quite a lot since then. What I will also say is, obviously, Phillips' cardio looked totally terrible after one round against Henry, whereas it's not great here, but it's not terrible either. So maybe that fight at CXF was just a bad night at the office. I am Orgil saying that was your conscious. Not too sure what that means, Orgil. But Cicero saying steam on Ank. I'm not too sure what that means either, dude. Not too sure what that means either. But yeah, we're going to do that Ankalaev versus Kutalaba fight probably in just under 2 hours. If you want to watch it, it'll be community and then live streams. That's where we'll be doing it. And then after it is done, it will be posted in the live stream archive. We'll see what we've got in here at the moment. We have got 2 hour live stream on Figueiredo Benavides, 2 hours on Tabura Spivak, a little bit of info on the Megan Anderson fight, a little bit of info on Felicia Spencer against Zyra Fern as well. And jumped away from the fight because I expected Tyler Phillips to be able to maintain this back control with how tired Quiros is looking here. But there we actually see him punish Tyler Phillips for the mistake that we've been talking about throughout this entire fight, right? Where when Phillips gets to these loose hooks, there is a window of opportunity for his opponent to explode into top position. Now, Quiros took that opportunity here. Finally, in the third round, he took that opportunity. And unfortunately gets reversed right back into having to give his back up. So Phillips's cardio doesn't look great here. Both guys tired, both guys sloppy, but it's definitely not looking as bad as it looked against Henry. No, he is still looking relatively strong here. One Cash saying, we know that there are levels in this game, right? So Silva lying on top of Borg 2-3 times is pretty significant in my opinion. It's probably the best grappler Kyla will have faced. Yeah, that's a fair point, One Cash. The size difference does bother me a little bit though. The size difference definitely bothers me a little bit. Obviously Borg is quite small. Borg is quite small, so is Silva, so it'll be easier for Silva to control Borg and it will be for Silva to control a big dude like Tyler Phillips. But Phillips definitely slick back takes as well. And I guess this fight just shows, this is why it's useful to watch fights like this. This fight will just show that Phillips's cardio isn't a total write-off. Like it's to be respected. Do you know what I mean? Like you do have to respect it. Maybe it was just a bad night at the office against Henry, but I would say Silva's got quite a big advantage when it comes to boxing. Might be able to hold his own on the ground. Yeah, Joe Banks. If you want to watch the live streams after they're finished, mate, just scroll down to the bottom of the page, click live stream videos. It's like the live stream archive, and then after they've been live streamed, you'll find them all in here with like a little write up. So I give betting advice for every fight, what I would personally do. So check it out, man. Oh no, I think I've hit play there. Yeah, check it out if you like the live streams. So we put out about 20 to 30 hours of content every single week. That can be quite useful for betting. If you're into live betting, prop bets can be very, very useful. And that is the end of that fight, boys. So there we go. You've seen a little bit of footage on Gabriel Silva, more footage on Phillips. I'm real tired, real hungry, so I'm going to go watch this Silva versus Borg fight again. But I do feel like Silva might be a good bet here, except I can't be totally sure in telling you that without actually going and jogging my memory on what this fight looked like. Because I watched it, last night and kind of got hazy memories of it. So nice one for watching, boys. If you like this video, please hit the like button below and also leave a comment. Let me know if you're betting this fight. Let me know who you think is going to win. And with that, boys, take care, and I will be back very, 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 very soon with another live stream. Like I say, I'll be doing Ankalaev versus Kutalaba on my website in 2 hours, and then as soon as we're done with that one, I will come back onto Twitch and Mixer, and I think I'm going to research this fight between Alon Cruz and Spike Carlisle, or I might do TJ Brown against Jordan Griffin. I'm not quite sure yet. We're going to do one of these two. So nice one, boys. Take care, everyone, and I will see you later. Have a good lunch, boys. I'm fucking starving.